Hey guys, welcome to another session of Whiteboard Wednesday. They're rolling around pretty quick these days. Today, I'm going to follow on from the one last week where we were talking about total return. I'm going to take you through an example of a positively geared property as opposed to a negatively geared property. Now, before I jump over to the whiteboard, I must say I was listening to some videos over the weekend, and a young fellow by the name of Nathan Birch runs a business called Be Invested and a number of other businesses. He's done some amazing things from a personal perspective, and I'm sure he's done some great things for his clients as well. But Nathan's philosophy is all about this next type of property being positively geared properties, positive cash flow. And he's got a few videos out there that really shoot down negatively geared properties. And one thing I would say to Nathan, mate, you've obviously done some really good stuff in your time, but just be careful with regards to having a pot shot at mortgage brokers, because in his last video, or one of the videos that he's run, he was talking about how mortgage brokers push negatively geared properties because it encourages them to take out larger loan sizes and to get a bigger commission. Now, Nathan, the last time I checked, I think you've actually got a mortgage business, and when you think about it, why would a broker or a lending consultant recommend a bigger loan amount if they could only do one loan, according to you, because it's a negatively geared property, as opposed to doing multiple smaller loans? If they're doing a good job, I'm tipping the commission's going to be the same. Just think about it, Nathan. So let's get into the example. Let's look at a property. I'm going to use $200,000 as the example. And all I've done here is I've flipped it around and I've said the growth rate associated with the $200,000 property is going to be at 3%, because history would suggest that if it's at the lower level, then the reason it's at the lower level is because it's not in as much demand, and the growth rate attached to that property is going to be lower. But what we're talking about is some of these properties, and this isn't an easy yield to get a hold of, I can tell you, but it is possible in certain areas to get rental returns up to around about 7%. So here, you'll see that the two figures are the same, but because I'm only purchasing a property worth 200 grand in real numbers, I've got 6 grand and I've got 14 grand. So that's $20,000 is my net wealth increase across to the expenses. Now, unfortunately, just because we're borrowing a lower amount doesn't mean they're going to give us a preferential interest rate. If anything, this interest rate could be slightly higher. But I've used the same interest rate and I've used the same costs here. When you flow through the numbers, we've got $10,000 worth of interest and $1,000 worth of costs. So as it stands right now, I've generated 20 grand, but I've got to deduct 11. So I'm on 9. My net wealth has increased by 9. Jump over to the tax benefit side of things. Now, the difference here is because I'm actually making money on the property, I'm earning 14 and I'm only losing 11, I'm going to have to pay some tax on that income. And in this situation, I've just given it 0.5% and $1,000. So what you would see is the return from a percentage perspective would be 4%, and in terms of real figures, what we're left with is 20 minus 11, that's what we're left with, $8,000. Now, you'd sit there and you go, well, I'm going to take the top property every day of the week over this one. I'm going to be increasing my net wealth by 44 grand as opposed to 8 grand. Yes, but you could take the argument that you could buy 4 of these properties for $200,000 compared to your one $800,000 property. Now, what would be the situation if I multiplied that out by 4? That gives me 32 grand. And again, you'd say, well, you know what? That's still not as good as what the top version is. So I'm going to go with the negatively geared property. The problem with that is, however, not everyone can afford the shortfall. And in this situation, you've got $24,000 coming in, 44 going out. You've got to fund that 20 grand shortfall. Now, there's ways and means in which you can reduce that. So from a cash flow burden, you're not having to wait till the end of the year to get your $8,000 back. So you can reduce the cash flow impost on yourself throughout the period. But the reality is, why is it not one cap fits all or one investment option best for everybody? Everyone's circumstance is different. There's plenty of ways to skin a cat, and there's plenty of ways for you to create some wealth for yourself in investing and in property. So if that is not a possibility for you, this quite possibly could. And if this total return or this net return is better than your next best option, which might be paying down debt, or it might be just putting it into a high interest savings account, it's better to do this than to do nothing. Thanks for your time. We'll see you next week.